2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, 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 it's Bud and the Manchild. 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 Bringing you the best in sports, talking about the ups and downs. Take it to a higher level, turn up the sound. Hey, 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 it's Bud and the Manchild. Hey, hey.
All right, it's time to bring them in. It's a Tuesday. That means it's time for Brunch with Bud Poliquin, brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where there's always love at first slice. Locations in Oswego, now over 40 years, and lovely Camillus. Go see our friends at Cam's today for delicious pizza and many, many other things. All right, let's bring them in. Time to talk sports with Bud Poliquin, my old partner. Bud, how are you? Happy Tuesday.
Alan, I apologize. I've unshaven. I've missed my grooming appointment, and I'm sorry for that. So next time, I'll be clean.
Well, Bud, I just want to, I understand, and thank you for shouting that out. It's not as if this occurrence that we do is every week at the same day and time. I could understand how that may be a difficult thing to prepare for in your reimagined life. So thank you.
All right. Well, next week, promise. Sort of.
All right, let's get right into it, and let's start with a Hall of Fame inductions over the weekend. Cooperstown active again. 5 big-name players going into the Hall of Fame, including posthumously, unfortunately, Dave Parker, who we just lost very recently, Dick Allen, a.k.a. Richie Allen, Billy Wagner, the closer, C.C. Sabathia, the former Yankee, and the headliner, I suppose, Ichiro. Bud, what do you think of the class? Let's start there.
Well, first of all, to call Billy Wagner a former Yankee, come on, that's a little New York bias.
No, C.C. Sabathia.
Oh, you said Sabathia said Wagner. I'm sorry.
Billy Wagner, the former Met.
Okay. I'm sorry. What's your question? What do I think? Oh, yeah, the class.
What do you think of the class?
I think it's one of the best classes of recent vintage. I've covered this event. I didn't go there this weekend, but I've covered this event, 20 times or more. And it's always kind of a disappointment because either there are some people who I'm not quite sure, are of the ilk. And then oftentimes the speeches are, disappointments. But in this case, I think all 5 of these people are either serious Hall of Fame timber, or at least they're there for reasons of fame, if not greatness. And I think they're all pretty darn great. As an example, I was a big Dave Parker fan growing up. And the idea that he was so good at what he did, but the one thing that he was great at was he could throw the ball. And I absolutely love outfielders. And Ichiro was had one of the great arms in the history of baseball. So I love Parker's arm. I love this personality. He's also a pretty darn good hitter. So I like this class very much. And I'm kind of a guy who sometimes maybe was more critical than I needed to be, than I should have been. But I really couldn't be critical of this bunch at all. And Mrs. Allen, Dick Allen's widow.
Yeah, fourth on the left there. Yep.
She made a nice crack. So she said something along the lines of, he would have played for free. And come to think of it, compared to the salaries that they're making now, he basically did play for free, which was a nice joke and got a good laugh. But the fact of the matter is, just to show you, boys and girls, how things have changed.
Okay.
Dick Allen was the highest paid baseball player at the time in the early to mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And he had signed what made him that. He signed a 3-year deal for $750,000 total dollars.
Wow.
So he was making $250,000 a year as the highest salaried player in baseball. And at the time was the reigning talent in baseball. And he made $250,000. Now, frankly, honestly, and I should know this, but I don't think anybody's making $250,000. I think the minimum is beyond that.
Yeah, let me check that.
Even the lowliest serf in Major League Baseball makes more than the great, and I'll say the great Dick Allen ever made in his 1 year in his career. So nice group, pretty nice speeches. Ichiro, everybody seemed to know, and everybody seemed to tell us, those on the inside, that Ichiro had a really interesting, really wonderful personality, had a great sense of humor, that he could speak English. He just didn't want to around, more often than not. And they said, one of these days he's going to speak English. He's to surprise people. And he did. He sort of knocked people's socks off in Cooperstown over the weekend. And I thought it was pretty cool.
Hey, Bud, the internet says the veteran minimum or the minimum salary in MLB in 2025 is $760,000.
So they make more in a year.
Minimum.
The scruff, a complete
right.
non-entity, makes more in a year than he made in his 3-year contract, where it was hailed like, oh, the end of the world.
That's the highest paid.
There's a guy making $250,000 a year. And now these guys, the 26th man on everybody's bench is making more than $250,000 a year. Making almost $1 million a year.
Correct. Right.
Whatever. So they're basically the stiffest of stiffs. And I say that very disrespectfully, because you got to be really good to be a stiff in the big leagues. You got to be really good to ride the bench in the big leagues. So I say this relatively speaking, as the stiffest of stiffs makes basically $1 million a year, and this other guy never made more than $250,000, a quarter of that in any 1 year.
But
times have changed.
You said like you hold this class that we're seeing on our screen in very high regard.
I do.
When the general you is comparing baseball classes of like, ranking them and things. What are the things that come into play? Is it just, I'm not asking you to do it. I already see the look on your face, but that's
not what I'm asking. What was the greatest class of all time?
No, I'm not. But what is supposed to be compared? Is it touchy-feely? Is it stats? Is it championships? Is it what for baseball when you're comparing these classes together?
Well, in my estimation, it has nothing to do with championships.
Sure.
Because, Ernie Banks, come on.
Right.
Mike Trout. Yeah. Mike Trout's going the first ballot. In fact, he over the weekend, he drove in his 1,000th run.
Yep.
And he's never played for a winner. So, boy, Mike Trout, he's really not that good, is he? Ridiculous. We talked about that last week. We won't do it again. So championships don't mean a lot to me, whether that's an indicator of you're good or bad, not in a team sport anyway. What do I think? I think certainly performance for sure, statistics for sure, longevity for sure. And I think, although it's really not a big deal, I don't think there's anything wrong with being good at the box office, where little Johnny or little Sally says to mom and dad, hey, so-and-so is coming to town this week. I'd love to go see him play. And I think that's kind of a nice thing and maybe an expected thing for a Hall of Famer, although certainly there are Hall of Famers who don't qualify in that end, but certainly qualify in all the others.
All right, Bud, besides championships, because I know that's the answer you would give. So put that aside. What is the most overrated thing we say when we're talking about baseball players' career? We pull out this statistic, this number, this accolade, but it actually doesn't mean as much as we say that it means.
This is going to sound very, very modern, and I'm not all fired up on the modern way that we praise certain statistics and denigrate certain other statistics.
No.
But I do think, while there's something to be said about winning games as a pitcher, and Joe Morgan said it best, it's just as hard to win a game 6-5 as it is to win a game 1-0. Okay. And so while I understand that winning is a very, very important thing for a starting pitcher, I also understand, and Paul Skeens is proving it, every day.
That poor bastard.
Yeah. The guy is, I think, 6-9 or something like that. And he might win the Cy Young Award. And guess what? He'd deserve it. Let's say he goes 4-4 the rest of the way. Let's say he ends up 10-13. I guess that's the math. 10-14, whatever. He can end up 10-14 with a sub 2.00 ERA. And the old timers out there say, well, how can he be the Cy? He's not the best pitcher in the National League. He only won 6 games or whatever it would be. Guess what? In that case, it doesn't matter. So I'm starting to come around to the thought that maybe, just maybe, most wins by a starting pitcher is not maybe the best way to judge the value of a starting pitcher. Having said that, if you're good enough to win 300 games, you got to go to the Hall of Fame, because, wow, that means you're a pretty good pitcher to get out there that often to win that many times.
And Bud, by the way, just to put it a little bit in perspective, how wins have really just gone by the wayside so much in baseball with all these specialists. Jacob deGrom, who won back-to-back Cy Young Awards in 2018 and 2019, between those 2 years, had 21 total wins. He was 10-9 and 11-8 in those back-to-back seasons, and he was the emphatic Cy Young Award winner. Wow.
And believe me, those numbers on paper and the one that Skeens is going to do in Pittsburgh this year, they're embarrassing to think that is your Cy Young winner. But then you step back and you say, well, is it his fault that his team doesn't score runs for him? Is it his fault that his team can't pick up ground balls behind him? Is it his fault that they're on lousy teams? I mean, I remember that what Steve Carlton played on the worst team in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies, when he won the Cy Young. Yeah. And Paul, please look this one up. I think he was 27-3, 27-7, something like that. Stunning.
And who was this again, Bud?
Steve Carlton.
Steve Carlton, Carlton, Philadelphia Phillies. And he was 20s. I know he won 27 games. He won the Cy Young Award. And how he won 27 games for a team that I think won like 64 games overall, that staggers the mind. So it is possible to be on a horrible team.
Yeah, and still win.
Doesn't win any games except when you're on the mound for that horrible team.
Although it's not anymore, Bud, with pitchers.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. 6 innings is considered a good start for pitchers these days. Hey, he gave us 6 solid innings. I mean, Bob Gibson is rolling over in his grave every time he hears this stuff.
Yeah, but here's the stat, right? Yeah. So in 1972, he went 27-10. The Philadelphia Phillies as a team went 59-97.
Look at that. Do you have his ERA by any chance? Is that there?
Yes, I do. His ERA in that season was 1.97.
Right. Now think about that. Think about how great Steve Carlton. It might have been put it all in the blender and mix it up. It might have been the greatest single season in baseball when you consider his numbers, under 2.00, 27 wins, and the team overall won 59 times.
And he had 310 strikeouts that season. Yeah.
More. I mean, it blows the mind. There have been great seasons, believe me. We can argue which one was greater, but nobody can argue which of the great seasons is the greatest of those seasons without mentioning Carlton in 72. If you do that and you don't mention that and that team that he played for, the worst team, 59 wins, what's the math of that? I don't know, 59 minus 27 is they otherwise won 32 games or something, whatever the numbers are. So he won 27, if that's right. And if my math is right, it may not be. The rest of the team won 32 times.
That's correct. 32 times. That's the math on it.
Those numbers speak for themselves.
So the rest of the team won 5 more games than he did.
Correct. Think about that. I mean, really, think about that. He won 27 games for a team that won 59 times.
All right, last one on baseball before we move out of Hall of Fame world. But is there someone right now, I always feel like there's always someone that you're lobbying for to get into the Hall of Fame. If you could just wave your magic wand and boom, put one additional person in the Hall of Fame as of right now, do you have that person?
Pete Rose. Pete Rose.
Louis
right? We know where Boy Green stands.
Pete Rose is a whole different animal. And I know we only have like a half hour-ish sort of show, and we need 4 days.
3 hours.
So Pete Rose, he's a big, large, massive asterisk next to his name. But of the people who have been overlooked, there's really 2. And you won't even have known. You don't even know the other guy, I must say. Would be Louis Tiant and a left-handed pitcher named Billy Pierce, Pierce. Billy Pierce was Whitey Ford, except he didn't play for the Yankees. He played for the bad White Sox, who didn't score any runs. Billy Pierce was Whitey Ford. Whitey Ford was Billy Pierce. Whitey Ford's in the Hall of Fame. Nobody talks about Billy Pierce. Look up Billy Pierce. You'll be, I think, fairly amazed. And then look up Whitey Ford and remember who Whitey Ford played for and who was in his lineup. And look who was in the Sox lineup. Meanwhile, Louis Tiant, more modern. Everybody heard of him. He belongs in the Hall of Fame.
I know there's a picture of him right there.
There's Billy Pierce. And, I don't have it right here. I have a baseball glove. I have 2 baseball gloves that I still hold on to. One was when I played Little League Baseball 100 years ago in Burlington, Iowa, and one that I got in high school when I was playing in West Hartford, Connecticut. And my Little League one, which I still have, even though he's a left-handed pitcher and I'm a right-handed thrower, I have a the Billy Pierce model Little League glove from way back when. So Billy Pierce was my guy. You guys keep talking. I'm talking. I'm here. I just want to see what's right here.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, take a
Okay.
look. He's looking for
All right.
his Billy Pierce glove. And that
yes.
is El Tiante you're seeing on
Yeah.
the screen there. But
Yes.
the number one in
All right,
terms
here
of
we go.
got to get into the Hall of Fame. I know
Okay.
he loves
We're going to
Here's-
make you full
T on.
screen here, Bud. So go ahead. Yeah, show us.
Here's my Billy Pierce glove. Now, as you can see, it needs to be
Ooh, yeah, let's
Oh,
get that
God.
taken care of.
It
My
has to be
goodness.
restrung. Look at that. There it is. That's my Billy Pierce glove from my Little League days in Iowa.
Wow.
I'd like to get this thing restrung. So if there's any stringers out there, give me a call. But that is one of the great gloves with one of the greatest pockets of all
Now,
time.
were you playing catch with guys that played like 100 years ago in a field with that glove? Is that going down?
Yeah.
So, Bud, can you answer this? You may
Yeah.
you may think this is a stupid question,
Okay.
but is there
There
a
are no
reason that
stupid
you?
questions, only stupid people. But go ahead.
Okay, well, I can confirm where I sit in that, but I'm not going to talk about that here on the show. But that you had that within reach of your computer for the show.
Yeah.
What are you normally doing there? You playing catch with yourself? What's going on there?
I don't have any real memorabilia. I have none from people. I have stuff from my son, and I have a few things for me, but that's it. But there's nothing from me. Well, even as I say that, I have a framed photograph of a team I used to play for 100 years, 90 years ago. And there I am sitting in the front row. And a handsome fellow right there.
Sure,
in the front row.
right, naturally.
But I have that picture right there. A friend of mine gave it to, framed it and gave it to me a long time ago. And what's interesting is I'm looking at my father was like the GM of that team. So he's sitting there, in the second row, and I'm down there in the front row. And you would know this. Then we got to get off this because this means nothing anyway. But Mr. Lerch, who's sitting next to me on that team, Tommy Bannon. So anyway, that means nothing to anybody. We can move on.
Yeah,
okay.
But real quick, just to go
yes.
back to your players here for a second.
Yeah.
So you said these, Lerch gave you the prompt. If you could wave a magic wand and get two guys into the Hall of Fame, these are the two on the screen.
Well, I
as
said
I flip
one,
back
but
and
of
forth.
course he had to have two.
Yeah, of course, obviously. An A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Why would you say, so these are the two that you would do it for. Why would you say they weren't able to get in without your magical powers of a wand? Why weren't they able to get in on their own? What would you point to?
Well, again, both in Billy Pierce's case,
Wrong team.
Wrong team, and he was a little guy. He was one of those. He was a pitcher. And just like Whitey Ford was a pitcher. And
He's also
that,
5'10" and 160 pounds soaking wet, apparently.
That's right. Well, Billy Wagner is the same guy. So he was Billy Wagner without Billy Wagner's fastball. And he was just a finesse guy. He was like a Tommy Glavine kind of guy, nibbled around. Just a great pitcher who again, if Whitey Ford is in, and I'm not saying he doesn't belong, Billy Pierce was Whitey Ford and Whitey Ford was Billy Pierce. And so also it didn't hurt that I had a Billy Pierce glove on my hand when I was in Iowa, and that I liked Billy Pierce quite a lot as a kid. So I may be prejudiced, but I would ask people, read up on Pierce, look at his numbers, read up on Whitey Ford, look at his numbers, and then tell me that there's a difference between them. Same size, through left-handed, etc.
All right. And El Tiante?
Louis Tiant, I can't fathom why he's not in. His numbers were great.
Yeah, we've talked about it for years.
He had charisma like almost no other. He was a showman. People did buy tickets because Louis Tiant was pitching tonight. So he lasted forever. Played for Boston and New York, among others. Big time. By that I mean big time franchises, pitched in big time games. There's no reason why Louis Tiant isn't in, and I truly don't understand why, except to say, somehow, some way, the voters missed. They missed. I mean, if I had a game to win tomorrow and they're both in their prime, and I could take CC Sabathia or Louis Tiant, come on, I wouldn't. Wouldn't have to think. Now, and I'm not knocking CC Sabathia. He gets in. Is this his first ballot, I think? Is he in his first ballot?
I'll double check that one.
That might be.
It might be.
He hasn't been on the ballot long, I'll tell you that. So if it's not first, he's been on
anyway,
the ballot.
CC Sabathia gets in real quick, and Louis Tiant doesn't get in at all? And I'm telling you, you got a game. If you win the game,
we first ballot.
Win this game, and we save the Earth from the Martians, okay? I'm putting Tien on the mound before I put CC Sabathia on the mound.
All right.
He's not there. Don't know.
I want to get to a few other topics with you, Bud. So let's move our way into the world of football, where there's been some interesting things going on. The first story is obviously the Dallas Cowboys and a lot of other teams in training camp. And with training camp and the return of players comes contract squabbles. We're seeing a squabble with the Commanders and Terry McLaurin, who has another year on his deal. But in Dallas, it's all about Micah Parsons and the fans who attended today's festivities, because certain training camp sessions the fans can come and can participate. They were chanting "Pay Micah," and Jerry Jones was at that practice listening to those chants. I mean, give us your quick take on what's going on in Dallas. Is Jerry just gone mad? Whose side do you stand on in this one? Should they just pay Micah?
There are a lot of people out there. There are some people out there who miss me that I'm not writing. There are a lot of people who don't miss me at all. Okay. Some do, a lot don't. It's a good thing I'm not writing now, because a lot people who maybe didn't approve of me, there'd probably be more of them. Because one thing that I would just kind of walk away from and say I am totally not interested in it.
For what we feel and what it means to us to be here in Oxnard, and have an appreciation for what we.
They weren't very loud. Sorry, the internet said there was some chants going on there for Pay Micah.
But just quickly, I don't. The idea of talking salary publicly, I think is not so much irresponsible, but insensitive. The idea that owners and players will be, billionaires squabbling with millionaires over dollars and cents, to me, it is a complete turnoff and totally insensitive to the vast majority of the fans. So many fans are you read the paper, or you see the headlines and whatever you're reading, and there are people struggling, and not now, but always. People have always been struggling. I'm not saying it's any better or any worse. And the idea that the millionaires and the billionaires are squabbling, when the reason they're millionaires and billionaires, at least from the sports perspective, is the fans. And people are suddenly been brainwashed the idea that pay Micah Parsons. What do they wanted to get this $40 million? That's the magic number. I assume they wanted
$45 million, actually.
They wanted to get 45. And I don't know, what are the Cowboys offering? 30, 35?
Yeah, apparently they're lowballing him.
Yeah, lowballing them is $30 million a year. I'm guessing. I don't know the numbers.
Yeah, it might be a little higher, but still, yeah.
Okay, right. That's crazier yet. Let's say it's $35 million. They're lowballing the poor man. They're only giving him $35 million a year to play a game. Somehow this is an issue for fans and the media and the sports society at large to take sides and to argue about this. I'd be embarrassed to write stuff about that one way or the other. And I think the fans are crazy.
So are you Team Micah or Team Dallas? I didn't hear your answer. Sorry.
I'm Team Stupid. They're all crazy. I don't get it. Why would anybody have passion because a guy is making 30 or 35 rather than 45? And somehow the offer of 30 to 35 million a year, somehow that's lowballing. That's an insult. And by God, we have to make world right for poor Micah Parsons. I'd be embarrassed to even think that. Now, I'm saying it only because you've asked, but you would never hear me talk about salaries and how badly people are being treated. Now, you want to go back. Rico Petrocelli played shortstop for the Boston Red Sox won the 1967 World American League pennant. Mm-hmm. If I have this right, Rico Petrocelli made something like $13,000 that year, starting shortstop for a World Series champion. I think he made $13,000. Now back then, the owners were taking advantage of players. Okay, let's come on now. Let's be more fair. Let's share the pot. But why not? We've crossed over to the realm of the irresponsible and the ridiculous. And you're asking me, playoffs, practice, salaries. You're asking me about salaries.
So, Bud, when you're up in the middle of the night and you have that scratch on the lower part of your back, you can't quite reach. Not that writing. I got to get back to that. You're saying that's not reading Micah Parsons' newspaper headlines. Pay the man.
I would not. The only subject I'd say is anybody who cares about Micah Parsons' salary, whether you're a fan or a media member, anybody who's outside of Micah Parsons' business people,
Sure. Right.
I'd say get a life. What would
okay.
Who's the
Okay, Buzz. Thanks for that. That is
Buzz
a Buzz.
I'd be Buzz Shaw. Get a life.
Get a life comment.
Are you
Bud,
kidding
bringing
me?
it back to life all these years later. Many Central New Yorkers would totally get that. By the way, tonight's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, locations in Camillus, and now for over 40 years in Oswego, where it is always love at food.
When you think of Cam's Pizzeria, think about two of your favorites. Their zesty buffalo chicken wing pizza or their tasty chicken bacon ranch. Over 16 specialty pizzas made fresh daily with the best ingredients. Indulge in their homemade calzones, subs, wraps, salads, and their famous cannolis for dessert. They're all made with love just for you. Order online for 10% off at camspizza.com. Locations in Camillus and Oswego. Cam's Pizzeria. It's love at first slice.
All right, and I'm getting hungry just watching that. All right, maybe I'll get myself a slice right after this. All right, let's move on. An interesting NBA story. So Nikola Jokic, we know him. He's won a couple of MVPs, always in the playoffs with the Denver Nuggets. But many that know him know that when Jokic gets knocked out of the playoffs, whether it's NBA championship or whether it's somewhere in the middle of the playoff experience, he says, all right, I'm going home now to my horses. And he means it. This guy owns horses, harness racing horses, and they race in Serbia. And just the other day, Jokic got a big win from his horse and had a celebration. I couldn't find really good video of it, but I did see him grabbing the horse by the backside.
What's the horse's name, Lerch?
I don't know the horse's name, but I did see the race. It was not a very glamorous racetrack by any means. As a matter of fact, Jokic was seen outside a fence looking into the race. So very, very fascinating. No big stands, no big crowds, but very, very excited. My question to you, Bud, is Nikola Jokic apparently really does love his horses. And there's been some speculation out there about that this guy might not hang around forever playing in the NBA. So give me your thoughts on his playing longevity, and will he eventually just say bye-bye and go into the horse world?
Well, first of all, you said he won a couple. He's won 3 and he should have won 5. Okay, so he should have won 5 in a row. That's 5 in a row. MVPs, that is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, this is a horrible answer to a decent question, and that is, it could go either way. He could play at least 35.
Yeah, how do you pronounce that, Lerch?
Demon del Est. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. He could go to at least 40, and he could quit when his contract comes up. Because first of all, he won't play for money because he's got more than he'll ever spend. I don't know if he's spent any of what he's got. He might be one other of these houses and his horses. He's one of these guys who may not even cash his checks. Just I don't know where they go. They go. My guy puts them in a bank somewhere. So the money is no big deal to him. So that won't be his motivation. It's a good question. I think a motivation for him, honestly, is to maybe keep going. Is to maybe, and I wouldn't like to see this because it would mean almost certainly leaving Denver, which would be a real bad thing for the league. I think a motivation might be I'm going to play long enough that somehow, some way, me and Luka could play together for a year or two.
Oh, wow.
Because they're supposedly fast friends, and they love the idea of imagine what we could do together. I don't know, but he certainly is a guy he's not an NBA guy in that, he doesn't live and he's devoted to basketball because of the science of it and the camaraderie of it and what you can do as a team and so on. He is not wedded to the NBA thing, the lifestyle, the clothing, the jet setting, the commercials. He just wants to play his basketball and go home. And one of these days he's going to go home, and when he goes home, there'll be a bunch of horses in the backyard.
It seems that way. And by the way, Bud, the Lakers are apparently, you're speaking of this potential Luka, combo with Jokic. Lakers fans and the Laker team apparently are holding out hope because Jokic is delaying signing his contract. Because you're going to love this story, Bud. He could make even more buckets of money if he chooses to wait as opposed to signing now, waiting for a different period of time, which is open the door again for Lakers fans say, ooh, Jokic, and Luka coming together.
Well, maybe Jokic is just there, I say, a little bit like Scotty Scheffler, I mean, hey, winning's pretty good, MVPs are pretty good, rings are pretty good, but hey, there's life after that. And for Jokic, it has to do with horses.
I think he and his wife have 2 kids now. So, I don't know. And the idea that he's going to hold out, not hold out, but he's going to hold off signing, he's got 2 more years. And if he waits a year or 2, he gets more money. What he also might be waiting, not so much to get more money, although, you can never be too skinny and you can never be too rich. I understand that. But he might be holding off just to make sure that the team around him, it's worth being away from his horses. I don't want to be on a team that doesn't have a chance. So they really
doesn't have a horse in the race, you're saying, Bud?
There you go.
Yeah. I'm going to start with the bad puns. This is when I cut off this conversation. All right, final comment on this.
Well, this is the final thing. They improved dramatically, and I think right now I think they should be considered co-favorites to win the title next year, if everybody stays healthy and productive. And so if they keep building up the team, then I don't know why he'd leave to go play for the Lakers, even though Doncic is over there.
All right, one last topic. Boy Green, I'm going to ask you to hit the sound snippet and the video here, but trouble in the barrio in Pittsburgh, maybe, kind of, sort of, and one guy who you might not expect to be playing diplomat that's Aaron Rodgers and Terry Bradshaw. Let's take a listen to this clip.
Well, I whisper to the gods every single day.
Damn right.
I've known Terry for a long time, being a part of Fox. Terry's a legend. He's an absolute legend. He won 4 Super Bowls. He's had a legendary career in the media. But Terry, like a lot of people, doesn't know me. And so he's got an idea of what he thinks about me based on what I've done, the documentary, what I've said, Darkness Retreat, whatever the hell you want to talk about. I'd love to get to know Terry on a deeper level. And I feel like if he gave me a chance to get to know him, then we'd have a good friendship, because for me, I have nothing but the utmost amount of respect and deference for what the greats have done, because they laid the foundation for us to be able to play in this great game, to be paid like kings, and to carry on the tradition of excellence that guys like the Bradshaws of the world in the 70s and Bart Starr in the 60s and Lombardi and Joe Montana and Steve Young and Troy Aikman and Brett Favre and all the greats that have been over, Tom Brady. We're standing on the backs of those guys, and it's because of how they played and how they carried themselves that we're able to have this opportunity to still play this great game, to get paid really well, to set ourselves up for our future. So I'd love to get to know Terry on a deeper level if he's open to it, and maybe we can go chew some bark or whatever the hell he's talking about together.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
There it is.
Let's go
Aaron
chew some
Rodgers.
bark together. So Terry made some comments about Aaron Rodgers, basically said, why don't you go back to your cave and go back and chew your bark or whatever it was, because he's a little bit upset. Obviously, Rodgers is a Steeler right now. He looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers this season. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, Lerch, just because we're talking about it, here is the direct quote that Terry Bradshaw said about Aaron Rodgers. And again, remember, folks, this is before Aaron Rodgers signed with the Steelers. There's just a lot of rumors that Aaron Rodgers could join the Steelers, and Terry Bradshaw was on local radio.
And Terry's very outspoken. He always has.
Oh. He is, and he said this about Aaron Rodgers, quote, "Stay in California, go somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there." And basically said the Steelers were above this and that they should not pursue. He thought it was a joke that they were even thinking about signing Aaron Rodgers.
But now they could be friends. But is a Rodgers olive branch going to work here with Terry Bradshaw?
I think what Aaron Rodgers said there, I don't know how anybody could argue with what he said.
Yeah.
In certain roles that Aaron Rodgers assumes, he can be very smart. He can be very philosophical. Dare I say, he can be a bit profound. But those are in narrow avenues. Because he says and does weird things. He's got incredibly misinformed opinions. I don't mind an opinion that I don't agree with, but it's got to be an informed opinion. He's got a lot of misinformed opinions. So he can be a real irritant to a thinking person. And some people say that Bradshaw that's not his biggest strength, thinking. But in this case, based on some of the stuff Rodgers has said, Bradshaw kind of has a right to be a little bit, this guy is a clown. On the other hand, Rodgers, when he wants to be profound and philosophical as he was there, you can't argue with not a syllable of what he said. So here's a case where two things can be right at the same time. Where I think Rodgers has a right to say, if he only knew me, let's get an informed opinion of me. And Bradshaw says, I've heard enough from this joker, and he's crazy. He's a crazy man. I don't need to get to know him. So I understand both perspectives, both positions. And I don't know if that's something that I need to take a side on, except to say that I get Rodgers and where he's coming from, and I get Bradshaw where he's coming from.
I would just say this, coming from Jetsland, where I just experienced Aaron Rodgers, I would say from afar, when he was in Green Bay, obviously the same take everyone has. Wow, what a gifted thrower of the football. But boy, that guy seems a few tacos short of a combo meal. There's a lot going on over there on the Aaron Rodgers experience. And I said, man, I have no idea what to expect when he's our quarterback. And all of a sudden, I'm listening to him every week on Pat McAfee. I'm forced to do covering the Jets and being a fan of the Jets for 90 minutes each week. His 3 times a week press conferences with the media. I'm like, man, I have no idea what I'm about to dive into. And I heard a lot of Aaron Rodgers over the last 2 years. And I'll tell you, there is a lot more to the Aaron Rodgers experience once you sort of get to know him, you get past it. But I think, Bud, the thing that's hard is it's hard for a lot of people to get past that front that he puts out in certain media atmospheres, because that's sometimes the only experience people ever get on Aaron Rodgers, and that's their perception.
And what he puts out is there to be digested. I mean, there's no taking back some of the positions he's assumed. And, not to get overly political here, but he has said things that are borderline dangerous, for people. And, I think when he's called out on that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that Bradshaw just called him out a little bit more colorfully than maybe other people have. Yeah. Again, I when he's in his realm, and it's not just football now, when he's in his realm, Aaron Rodgers is to be listened to and like, that makes sense. When he colors outside the lines, then you say, boy, that's a quack. I don't need to hear quackery, So there,
Okay, so let's bring it back to football. What is your expectation for Aaron Rodgers on Pittsburgh in 2025?
Because there's only been one quarterback in my immediate thought process who's been able to do what they think he's capable of doing, what the Jets thought he's capable of doing. Mm-hmm. Since there's only been one guy who's been able to perform at that level past the age of 40, and that would be Tom Brady.
Correct.
I don't know that we have the second coming, literally, among college football gods here. So I'm gonna defer to Father Time, and I'm gonna say I'll have to see him be effective. And by effective, I mean, they had people there they were 10-7 last year, I think.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Yep. So they didn't bring him in to go 10-7, right? I mean, they already had They had 10-7 quarterbacks already.
To at least win a playoff game, I would assume is the expectation of Pittsburgh, which hasn't happened since 2016. Yes.
I would think that in pure numbers, they'd expect, the thought is they're going to go like 12-5. They're going to win a couple more games last year and win at least one playoff game. Now, if you're asking me, can he win 12 games plus a playoff game? Father Time and history tells us no, because I think only one guy's done that, Tom Brady. Yeah. So I'm going to say that I'll defer to history and Father Time and say if people are saying 12 wins and at least one playoff win, I'm going to say people are going to be disappointed, because remember, he's in the tough. I don't know. You would know this better than me. I think it's the toughest division in football.
It's that of the AFC West. We can have an argument about it, but it's one of those two.
Yeah, again, everything's arguable, but I mean they got what have they got? Baltimore.
Ravens. Baltimore's terrific. Cincinnati,
come on now. Cincinnati any given day can win a game because of Burrow. I mean, come on. Nobody wants to play Cincinnati.
Yeah. Luckily, they have Cleveland.
Nobody wants to play Cincinnati. And then Cleveland, one of these years they got to be a little bit better than they've been. But I mean, you got to go through Baltimore, got to go Cincinnati, and then let's not forget about people outside the division, but in the conference.
Yeah,
Kansas City, people like this. And I guess the Jets, the Jets.
Look out!
Jets.
Week 1, Jet Steelers, baby. Grab your popcorn.
This show has officially gone on about 30 seconds longer than it should.
I think it has.
We're talking about the Jets.
All right. Hey, we will talk again with you next week, sir. Always great to brunch with Bud. We do it every Tuesday. So thank you, sir. Have a great
day. I will try to remember to be better groomed next week.
Yes, please. Shave the next time. Shave.
I will attempt
and
to
shower and buff.
As one of my colleagues used to say to me, I'll try to remember not to forget. Okay?
All right. There he is.
Ta-ta.
There he is, the one, the only Bud Poliquin. Again, today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it is always love at first slice.